Sure, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I really enjoy the concept, love learning about it, and watching a couple of your previous episodes. My story, where do you start? I was born in central New Jersey, about an hour from New York City, out of Philadelphia, and then the Jersey Shore was an hour east, which was really cool. A lot of access to a lot of really cool stuff, concerts, fun activities in New York City, Philadelphia, the beach, and so forth. So it was a really nice area. Growing up in that area, I've always really been into music, rock and roll specifically, anything that really gets me going, gets a heartbeat going, kind of gets my juices going, so to speak.
Hmm.
uh, Life is a journey, as we all know, and there's different aspects of it. And one of those aspects, which I can talk about later, or even in a separate session, is the most important journey we can take is a health and wellness journey, which actually impacts all of our lives. Like a typical, quote unquote, typical kid in the 80s and 90s or so, I love it. Different than many kids now, but I love spending time outside, time with friends, played baseball from when I was about 5 or 6 years old to about 16, 17 or so, and then in different travel leagues, recreational leagues. And then now actually recently started getting into a men's baseball league, which has been awesome. Love
Hmm.
reconnecting, connecting with people from a social perspective, having fun as well. From a story perspective, school is going to be interesting and weird for all of us in different capacities. There's the weird teenagers, or watch out for the teenagers, or watch out for the bullies in school, and people that just aren't really happy with their lives. And unfortunately, with that, whatever it's their background or their family situation, they end up taking their feelings and their emotions, whatever they're going through, out on someone else. Unfortunately, for that did happen to me many times over, from middle school into high school and so forth. It's kind of part of life, but unfortunately for me, during in the process, it was more than it did for other people. It wasn't easy. I'm still here now to talk about it, which is awesome. Made it through, still living, still healthy, which is the most important thing.
Yep.
It was no easy as far as making the right connections, talking to people. I was shy at the time in certain situations, especially in school, which is natural. But I, mean, I do remember certain people that just really wouldn't stop. And there's one moment that really just probably gonna stand out the rest of my life. It was end of our eighth grade year, probably 1 or 2 months away from graduating eighth grade and going into high school. And the administrators asked, they said, we know this is going on. This person is really just not behaving himself. They offered to give me the choice. They said, would you like us to kick him out? Would you like would you like him to just stay, finish the year out? And again, this is like a month or two away from graduation, and I'm like, and I realized we were so close to graduation. I said, just let him stay. I'm like, just no big
Hmm.
deal. Let him finish the year out. I don't know if that was the walking heart in me doing that, or what. And I just said that I just wanted to let him stay, let him finish it out. It happens. Let it be. I know some people will look into what are their bullies like doing nowadays? They like look them up on LinkedIn or whatever. I don't bother with that. But there's some situations that just stick with me. And I mean, there's even that, as far as what did they say, what did they do, constantly berating me and so forth. So that was a situation that really stuck out. And again, high school, you have your ups and your downs, as far as making the right connections and so forth. And it's from high school going into college and so forth. And again, I can go on forever different aspects, but going through those situations really made me think about life, from the perspective of what's it about? Why are these people doing this? Not even a victim mentality, like why am I experiencing this, but just wanted to know more about life.
Yep.
What's happening, what can I do to grow from this, and what's life about, why do people do this. And that kind of got me onto a self-help personal development journey from probably 15, 16 years or so old, and I've kind of been on it further for most of my life, in a sense, from again mid teenage years or so. So it's been quite a journey to say the least. I'm here to talk about it to people, and it's actually very cathartic
Yeah.
to tell my story, which I really appreciate what you do as well, and giving people a platform to talk about it.
Thank you so much. To tell you the honest, as soon as you said the word bullying, um, a nerve just it just twitched on me. I hate it, and I that's something honestly I've seen it during my high school years, and even during elementary school. I myself was somewhat bullied by my cousin at one point. I had a bag, which is pretty funny. Well, my bag said it was my bag, so I remember walking into a puddle, like it was raining, and there's on our field, it was very muddy. So he took my bag from me, threw it into like and grabbed it and says, "Oh, this is my bag." See, it says my bag on it, and threw it into the puddle of like mud. And I literally said, like, damn, like that's my bag. Like I had to get
Oh,
my bag, and I walked through this mud and my whole pants were covered. And I was so angry at him. I'm like, you know what? Let
of
me just
course.
I had to breathe at that point. And I look back, like when you mentioned these things, I look back on even like I'm gonna tell you the truth because hey, this is real talk. Like I think everyone has experienced some bullying in their life or some name calling, and I've been name called when I was during the elementary school. Um, and I remember you mentioning that you don't look back on the bullies and so on and so forth, but it's actually quite interesting because someone reached out, like one of my friends back then was like, hey, you remember that person that was picking on you, yada, yada. And they told me what that person's doing now. And then I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. And I realized that despite everything, it's funny how the universe and I guess karma comes back at people in that sense. But I personally do not condone it. I think bullies are cowards. Um, I understand the concept or the idea that they could have some troubling past and some things that happen in the family and around them that they take out that anger when they come to school and so on and so forth, which I fully understand that concept. However, how I see it is that it's the same thing like people say when you go to work, if you're angry or you're feeling emotions when you're going into work, as soon as you sign in, you leave those emotions outside. And that's what I feel with bullying as well, is that as soon as you come to a place where there's other people around, you leave that stuff that's happening from home, you leave it at the front door and you don't take it to the school. And also, if you feel like you are getting bullied, anyone that's watching this, I would love for you guys to reach out and get the help that's needed. Seek a counselor, seek an adult, um, because, like you said, Chris, I thank you for actually saying that for this platform to bring those awarenesses in place, because it is very these things it 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 hits me in certain ways, and I know it's around, and I'm glad I'm bringing awareness to it. Um, but yeah, it's very different, very difficult.
Uh, and it's interesting. It doesn't like we think of bullying. Oh yeah, it just stops. It's like from elementary school, middle school, high school. It doesn't stop.
Mhm.
It happens in different capacities at the workplace and so forth. And that's where egos and people are trying to climb a ladder and get one up over one another. It's unfortunate. It happens sometimes.
Mm.
And it kind of the human condition in a sense in some capacities and some careers it is like that other careers it's a total opposite where we're all just helping each other out but just in my experience over the past 16 years in my field in the nutrition and wellness fields and health coaching so it's part of life but it can be part of life but as you said we do not condone it
Correct.
it's horrible and like you just mentioned earlier there are many resources available from school counselors. I have a niece and nephew. My nephew is 4 years old. My niece is 9 months older. So they're in my world. There are many resources available. Obviously, like my niece or my nephew, like my nephew has my business card, but he's not going to like call me. He might, but reach out to someone you trust. Essentially, is really what it comes down to. Find someone you trust. Like I said, a counselor. One of my good friends is a school counselor in Florida. she's amazing. I said, no, people do really well with her. So there are always people that are willing to listen to you, hear you out, and help you through the process to become even stronger as well.
You're absolutely right on that one. If you don't mind me asking, are you able to give me some examples of those things that you were bullied for, or do you want to go there?
No, it's perfectly fine. It's I am part Italian,
Mhm.
just the way it is, and with my biological nature, and we all go through our growth spurts and puberty and so forth. And I was the first person in my elementary school to shave. I think I started shaving at like 5 years old, like fifth, sixth grade, and I got hair on my legs and stuff, and it's being a person, you really can't control that. It's just your genes in a sense. So it's one of the main things I just kind of remember, like in gym class. So he's got hair in his legs, just stupid stuff essentially. Where you just kind of like picking out whatever you can get. Like, oh, you find something that's off about him or that person or him or her, and you just like latch onto it because that's what they can get onto. That's one of the main things that just sticks out. And again, that just not that's human nature to bully, but it's human nature to find something to you know push someone down in a sense. And that just happened to be my starting puberty early from shaving and everything else. From my freshman year of high school was tough. It was very tough. Let's putting it lightly. Tough, putting it lightly. And it's again just kind of finding your way and finding your tribe of people, and it was hard for me to do that at the moment. And so I was having stomach issues and so forth, and because I was anxious and out of whack in a sense. So it's little things like that. Someone will just try and find an aspect that's off, and then they're not going to jump on that. And again, it's horrible, but on the back end, I really believe it's important to find people you trust, whether it's co-workers in a workplace, um, classmates, teachers, counselors, who you trust, who can talk you through it, tell you, help you realize that we all are, made unique. We all have individual talents and abilities to share with the world, even if that one piece of us is different, whether it's we happen to grow faster than other people in elementary school or whatever it is. It's really important to realize, to tap into those abilities we had. As far as certain classes just put me to sleep, and I'll be completely honest, like math is algebra 2, algebra 1, 2, and all that good stuff, and even accounting put me to sleep. So certain classes just were not easy for me, and it put me to sleep, and that didn't help the cause out either. And from that perspective is where I began to really get well, why am I here? Like, what am I here for as a person? And then I realized, ever since I was young, elementary school on up, I always loved helping people. It's come naturally to me. It's I get a natural high doing it, and I originally went to school for psychology and social work, so that was an aspect of it I like. And then I kind of started to seek out ways to have a career helping people make a positive difference in people's lives, and using my talents and abilities. And a lot of times, unfortunately or fortunately, people will say, you have to go a certain way. You have to be a scientist. You have to be a accountant or whatever it might be, which is true. There are many great ways to make your way through life with that. But ultimately, it's following your heart, where you really feel you're meant to be, from a career perspective, or even from a personal perspective. Where you're meant to live and so forth. So that's where I began to learn about what I'm here for, what's life about, and think about what are my low-hanging fruits. I love helping people. I can do it all day and all night. If someone calls me at 10:30 at night, Chris, can you talk? Unless I'm like half asleep, I'm going to talk to them. It's not a concern. And I will hold my boundaries as needed, but really important to find our gifts and abilities that we just can do 7 days a week and not really think about it. It's just us being ourselves. No, people that love painting, just do it. Just paint.
Yeah, yeah. So it's actually funny how I'm listening to you talk, I'm digesting it, which is interesting. So a couple of things that you mentioned that it's actually funny how unique we are. And I'll tell you the truth, us two were very opposite. And I love
Okay.
that because see, my hair here is like that long. And to
Okay.
tell you the truth, I have not cut my hair in 3 years. My hair, my beard, I've not shaved since January.
Well,
So
I was
yeah.
really down.
Exactly. So when you said, "Oh, I got hair here," I'm like, "Buddy, like this is a January right here," and that's it for January. And again, this is 3 years. I've not come here in 3 years.
Wow.
So, and then you mentioned algebra and math. I love algebra and math, which is pretty funny. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's interesting, and this is in all honesty, this is what true human being is, and the makeup of what human beings are is our differences. And despite our differences, we're able to have a casual conversation between each other. And I believe when you're growing up as well, when you're being bullied, and all those are bullying that are being bullied and are bullies, really look at finding things that you relate to everybody, to your individuals, because once you do that, you start to realize that we are all the same. As in, we're all human beings, we're all uniquely different. The fact that you got picked on for hair growth, buddy, I again, like my hair, just this is a 3 year hair right here. So it's interesting to just hear that, which is interesting as well. And then you mentioned as well, previous my podcast of I don't want to say it, but a lot of people have gone through that trauma and tragedy throughout their life. And the biggest thing is I find that when something or situation happens, when we're put at our lowest or in our lowest place, we have all right to be victims, but we cannot keep being victims. At some point, we have to become from victims to survivors to strong people, in all honesty, because if you stay a victim all your life, there's no room to grow. Someone mentioned in my previous podcast, when they're talking about, is they mentioned at some point their dad asked them, "And what now?" Is that okay? You understand that, for example, in your situation, you got bullied. You hit that switch and which you focus, and now what? What now? What do I want to do? Because I believe at some point you accepted that, yes, you were bullied, but now you want to prevent those things from happening. Or if someone reaches out to you, how can I be how can I be of, and this is a key word, a service, right? And you with like you mentioned, anyone could call you at any point in time. Hopefully you're not sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning, but you're able to have and be that sound mind, because with that sound mind, your service that you do, you could be actually saving someone's life. You could be that voice in which someone says, "Hey, I'm about to kill myself, to be honest with you," or do something bad. Hey, hopefully Chris picks up his phone, and then therefore I could talk it out. You mentioned that your nephew has your business card. My advice, give him some more business cards, because hey, he might see someone that a friend or so and so forth, or someone on the street says, "Hey, seems like you're having a bad day. My uncle, he talks to people for a living. Here's a business card." So Chris, my advice, give him another, if you have 100, give him 100 more, because again, your simple phone call or your simple voice can save somebody in the future.
That's perfect. Very well said. And you mentioned you're a big music guy too. And that's kind of what's driven me throughout my life in many aspects. We might be lonely, and we might just be like, find our way through life. And no matter what, we can put a song on or a record on or whatever. It's going to speak to our soul. It's going to speak to us. I can't tell you how many times I've done that, and I'm going to do that in the future 100 more times as well. But from what you were saying, there's a song that stands out, and it's called "Give a Little Bit," by Supertramp. And one of the lines that comes out is, "So send a smile, and show that you care. See the man with the lonely eyes, so take his hand, he'll be so surprised." I'm not saying I'm lonely. We all get the that way sometimes. It's completely natural. The most important form of vitamin C is connection. We need to
Hmm.
connect with one another, whether it's walking down the street, waving at somebody, holding the door for somebody as they go into a store, wave at someone if you have a mask on and they can't see your smile. It's your personal choice what you want to do. But little gestures like that can make a really big freaking difference. And just the little things like the song said, like you said, you know, someone could be having a bad day, but like, you wave at somebody or like just a very small gesture, and that's going to be pay many dividends. It's like a stock investment, but you're just investing in someone's well-being essentially.
You're absolutely right on that one. And again, like I love I love music, to be honest with you. And not I understand not all lyrics is for everybody. But sometimes those lyrics that are, to be honest, inappropriate can give you and just the feeling of triumph, the feeling of um energy and that spark can rise. I'm a huge athlete, and I love when I'm about to run or about to do an exercise, I'll throw on some music. It ranges from like heavy metal or even sometimes I hit that Mozart or Beethoven and hit that da, 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 da. It's like, let's get ready. It's that
Literally.
pump that I love about it. And we mentioned again that the vinyl as a clock. I look at that, and again, I'm thinking about. I love jazz. I played the trumpet for over 16 years, and I look at that, and I think of Louis Armstrong. I think of I can't remember all these people. There's so much good trumpet
All
players and jazz. Exactly. So those people, and I look at that, and I think about those situations or times in my life in which I played a record or I listened to again the old school CDs, you could say, or cassette players. And I miss cassette players. I remember when you just honestly, I miss the old school of the music of when you hit a cassette and you throw it in there, and a radio, you're like, oh yeah, I remember the song. You hit that record and play button together. It's that, and then you listen back to it. And to be honest with you, even when the cassettes, like the tape gets all round up, yeah, you're upset, but you know what? You did it, and you literally you cared for that cassette because you thought it was like the gold of all golds and such. So it's
Totally.
it's
It's always
yeah.
going to be
So
there. It's always going to be there for you. Put it on,
mhm.
go to YouTube, put a song on. It's always going to be there for you, essentially.
Exactly, which I love it. During your bullying phases, did you ever seek help or counsel?
Oh, totally.
Mhm.
Both from the school perspective, in addition to outside sources, such as therapists and so forth. And we talk about, mental health. I think the stigma is now decreasing as we hear more and more people talk about it from a public perspective and from, people, even like famous people, artists, musicians, whoever, like, whoa, he he went through the same things that I was too. You think of these guys as quote unquote gods, not in the blasphemous way, but
Mhm.
just as, rock and roll stars, musicians, artists, and so forth. But it's neat to hear that even though, you see them shining on stage, or you see artists, actors, business people who go through anxiety and so forth, and they seem like untouchable. Like, yeah, they get millions of dollars. Like, they can have whatever they want. They can have any dinner they want, any car they want. But in the process, they might have gone through similar things to what I did. So it's breaking the stigma of, well, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in my feelings. I'm
Mhm.
not the only person that's gone through this. And there are many resources available, both from even from a lifestyle perspective. Um, we need the connection with one another, of course, but just a simple, walk in the park, or a simple, bike ride, spending 15 or 20 minutes in the sun. It's not easy if just to even leave your just get out of the house sometimes.
Mhm.
But sometimes just getting out in the sun, getting out for a little physical activity outside, walk. I played in a men's baseball league over the summer, which is amazing. Just getting around the other guys and having fun, being out in the sun. So there are many really simple things we can do to support our health, in addition to the counseling, which is also just as important to really get our feelings out and be heard and validated. But simple things like drinking more water, being active, checking the foods we eat. I like to say our body is our first doctor. So, how do we feel after eating a burger and fries or pizza and pasta, or starchy foods, versus how do we feel after having a salad with some protein, chicken, turkey. If you're vegetarian, you can go to that route too. But if we feel better after eating certain foods and not so good than how we did with other foods, then there is a strong connection with the foods we eat and our mental and emotional health as well. So there are many easy things we can do to support our well-being in addition to seeking outside resources.
You're absolutely right. And that's why they call it soul food, because that's what feeds the soul.
Exactly.
Yeah. You mentioned again the whole sunlight. The first thing I thought about was people that like to stay in the basement. And I'm not going against those basement dwellers. Shout out to the basement dwellers. But
Right.
you're, as humans, we're kind of like plants in a sense. We do need the sunlight. We need that energy, that natural light, to be within us to actually grow. And like you mentioned, the vitamin C, the vitamin D's the vitamin D's that we get from the sun. And that's why it's nice to have those days in which you just sit back, whether in a backyard, out for a walk, where the sun hits you, and then you get that revitalization within yourself. That is always needed, as you mentioned, that glass of water, drinking the water, eating healthy. Those things are key. I'm not saying don't you have to indulge every now and then. And as you mentioned, pizza. I gotta say this: I'm a pineapple on pizza person. I know a lot of people hate that, but that's the type of person I am. But if I see like a slice of pizza and it has like a pepperoni on it and no pineapples, I'm like, okay, I'm still gonna eat it. But then my heart and my soul, if I see a pineapple on it, I'm like, yes, this here gives me a good vibe and a good mood into it. So saying all that, it is very true. And as you mentioned as well, we have to also seek certain people to hang around with, because our vibe or our energy that we possess and that's around us, we have to make sure that we are with those people that provide positive attitude, a positive mental aspect on you. Because as I mentioned earlier, when you mentioned the sun, I actually thought about us as plants. And as plants, we have to nurture them from what it eats, the amount of sunlight. If we give it good energy or good soil around it, it really depends on how much it grows. And as again, you mentioned again, those low-hanging fruits. Again, I'm looking at us as plants and trees. We have to nurture ourselves. And that could be, again, the food. They always say that music is good for plants as well. So, so those things as well. Like I'm thinking about all these aspects. So it's actually nice to actually hear that. And I love this conversation because I could feel my mind and my brain, just the wheels turning of ideas and the algorithm in which the similes that we could use for, or metaphors that we use as humans and as for us to grow. So it's actually quite interesting. Thank you so much for that.
Of course, and like I said too, many of those things are free. Essentially, it's free to walk outside unless restrictions in place. We won't go there, but for the most part, it's free to go outside. It's free to take a walk in the park. It's go outside, call up a friend for that vitamin C connection. If you can meet a friend out and about, and you can do that. So many of these things are very easily accessible from the low-hanging fruit perspective to be able to support your mental and overall health and well-being, which is nice. And like I said, when I spoke to you earlier, I live about 25 minutes from the beach in North Carolina right now, and originally from the New Jersey area, it was pretty close to the beach as well. I always used to love going. I still do as well. So finding your place where you can go and just being outside is going to, you're going to see other people too, other than the four walls you're in, which is going to help see, oh yeah, there's a world outside. There's people out there in their lives. There's people, to talk to and so forth. So most of those things are really easy to do and easy to tap into as well.
You're absolutely right. You mentioned you have a coaching business, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I do. As I mentioned, I always loved helping people throughout my life. It's just come naturally. And like I said, call me at 10:30 at night or whatever. And as long as I'm pretty coherent, I'll be happy to talk to someone for the most part. It's kind of who I am, but also put necessary boundaries in around 16 years ago, when I was looking for, ways to really create the life I wanted for myself, not just through a traditional job, I was introduced to the health and nutrition and wellness fields through a nutritional company, and which I've been in for almost 16 and a half years. And in 2019, I became a certified health coach through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which really has a big emphasis on lifestyle factors in addition to the food we put in their body. So I've been gluten-free for 12 and a half years, sugar-free, but for about 11. So I really incorporate all factors when it comes to helping people support their health and well-being. Both from, how do you feel after you eat certain foods, to the perspective of how do you feel when you're around family, to certain people, to certain family members, certain friends, to certain people light you up. Do they get you going? Do they give you tons of energy? Feel like you can do anything you want, you can become who you want, anything you want, or do other people bring you back down, make feel like less of a person? They're all really important. In addition to the importance of happiness and joy, are you working in a career that makes you happy, that fulfills you? Do you have a good home life? So all those factors are very well, work together in a sense. Like we can eat all the broccoli and kale and pineapples and all that good stuff, but if we're not happy, if we don't have joy in our lives, if we don't have connection in our lives, those foods are only going to do so good. Our body's not going to digest them, and we're going to miss out. We're going to miss out on a lot of other aspects that are just as important. So, really combining all those together is part of my health coaching, and like it's really what gets me going, and finding out, not just giving someone a diet plan, but more about a health coach in addition to a life coach perspective as well.
That's excellent, Chris. Any final words or final thoughts that you'd like to share?
Life is precious. Life is beautiful. It's just something that came up a couple of years ago, and it's just, I don't know. There's two sayings came to my mind, and like it's really the truth. Precious. We've realized over the past year or so. We were recording this August 2021. I can't believe we're almost in September of this year. The past 18 months, we really realized how precious life is from a health perspective and otherwise with everything that's gone on. I don't need to get more into that, but look at history books to tell you more in the future. But with everything that's gone on, life is precious. Supporting our health and well-being is really more important now than ever. And not to say that you have to go eat all the fruits or vegetables in the world, but from true, very important, but supporting your whole self. And not just the food you put in your body is just as important through the connections, through mindfulness practices, and connecting with others that'll help support your goals. Whether it's a psychotherapist, guidance counselor in schools, whoever it might be, there are people and resources available.
So Chris, I'll talk to you again. Take care.
Very good. Thank you.